Hey guys, it's Ghost Queen. I'm back. Hey Kim, how are you? Can you hear me okay? Because I'm using my laptop microphone, which probably isn't the best, and I just need to know if you can hear me okay before I begin. We're having some bitches brew today. So I've finally gotten set up to stream again my normal way, which is kind of exciting. I'm happy about it. And I've got a couple things to talk about today. And I'm going to start the Salem Witch Trial history today also. But Kim, can you just confirm that you can hear me okay before I start rambling on, which I do. Rambling on. We're having, a tropical storm here in New Orleans, Cristobal, but it really hasn't developed into too much yet. It's just windy, rainy, but not even really bad. It's been pretty mild, so maybe it'll hit us tonight. We're sort of waiting to see. But I don't want to keep going on until I know whether or not you're hearing me okay. Let me just check myself since Kim's not responding to me. Hold on. Let's see here. It's kind of quiet. I need a better mic. All right, I'm going to try to get closer to the laptop and speak up a little. So, you hear me okay, McHenry? Hi, thanks for coming into this stream. So, I am going to start off with this just to get it out of the way since there's some drama going on. And I know a lot of people have come to me about it, and I haven't spoken about it publicly at all. And frankly, I wouldn't have. I sort of feel forced to. I feel that I've been put in this position. Clearly, that's the intention. So I am going to just read off a little statement, and then that is going to be that. I won't be addressing it further. It's been upsetting for me, and so I wrote this out. I find it shocking and disillusioning that someone who claims to love their partners very deeply and seriously would then try to publicly assassinate their character with slander and lies. The list of accusations and name-calling is endless, so let me just set the record straight. After a petty argument in which my partner left the house in a rage after breaking several things of mine and saying he would be back later that evening, this was on February 7th of this year during the day, a week before Valentine's Day when he had led me to believe he was going to propose. He never came back. He didn't call me to tell me he wasn't coming back. He had taken some things with him. And when I eventually tried to call him, he wouldn't take my calls. He didn't respond to my texts. A week went by. I spent Valentine's Day alone. I never heard from him. Still thinking he was maybe going to show up and propose. He went so far as to bring me a ring sizer, which I still have. He didn't contact me on Valentine's Day and for quite some time. We never had a breakup conversation, and about after a month I just started to accept clearly the relationship was over. He wasn't coming back, and I wasn't going to hear from him. And you know, at that point, a global pandemic broke out when he didn't even have any interest in checking on me to see if I was okay, if I needed anything, if the animals were okay, if the house, you know, whatever. At that point, when there was such a serious world event going on and I still wasn't hearing from him, I really did accept that the relationship was over and he just couldn't face me. So, as far as I'm concerned, anything that happened after that point is none of his business because he was no longer a part of my life. He abandoned me in every single way, and our home, and our pets, and our business, and our life, and our family. He's going around saying I cheated on him. I never cheated on him. I was always faithful. I was loyal and loving and a devoted partner to that man. I thought we were spending the rest of our lives together. He had always led me to believe that. I haven't seen him or spoken to him since February 7th. Okay? That's what, you know, like almost 5 months. Like, I have not seen or spoken to that man since then. This will be the last time I address this. I never wanted to get into it at length publicly. That was not my choice. I think it's wrong. I find it shameful that he takes no responsibility for the hurt and damage that he has caused me and my family. I find his focus on money and the material particularly distasteful, uncouth, and inelegant. How he has dealt with all of this has been utterly dysfunctional and something I cannot understand. I'll quote the Scarlet Letter in regard to these public displays. It is not a badge of my shame, but your own. It seems bewildering to me that a man who consistently led me on, tricked me, betrayed me, and lied to me, and avoided seeing or speaking to me for these past 5 months, now has so much to say publicly. It seems backwards and immoral and wrong and telling. There's been enough wreckage, certainly in my life, in my children's lives, without creating a war when we're no longer together, involved, or connected to one another, especially in times such as these. I will not pick up the battle axe that you have laid down for me. That's it. That's all I'm going to speak on it. So, I'm upset that I've been put in the position where I have to do so, and this is not the forum. I'm not going to jail, but I will be getting some kind of order against you. I'm asking you to just leave. This is not the place. You have my phone number, you can call me. But trying to publicly shame me is unacceptable. I don't know why I can't block you here. And I won't stand for it. So that's that. Yeah, and the funny thing is that I'm consistently accused of being the drama one, but it seems to me that perhaps it's someone else who's the drama queen. So that's it. Um, in all this time, I have continued to stream. I have continued to put my face out there and to speak. And other than perhaps a couple of backhand snarky comments, I have not created drama surrounding my breakup. And it's unnecessary, it's inappropriate, and I don't like it. I find it really, really distasteful. So that's it. That's that. He's trying to build an army, evidently, to support him and victimize himself, which is just, I find that particularly vile. So that's it. I'm not going to address it any longer. So let me refocus and tell you what's been going on with me. So I've been really busy the past week. That's why I haven't been around. I've been doing a lot of biking. I have biked so much since I moved to New Orleans. I couldn't even begin to calculate the mileage that I've biked. And I had to learn how to like replace a flat tire, like with an inner tube. Like I was on my way to my storage space. I broke down. This wonderful older black man helped me. He was fantastic. His name was Zeke, and I see him now. Like I'll ride by him and give him a big wave, and a couple other guys that were there as well. They were very friendly, very helpful. But I did get a flat like 3 or 4 times. I mean, really, it's just pathetic at this point. So, yeah. So I did learn how to do it. I got 3 or 4 flats before I really got the hang of it, patching up the inner tube and replacing it. And I found it a little bit difficult. I think if you've never done it, it is a little bit difficult and messy and hard. But I worked it out, and my bike is good now, so that was cool. And yeah, so I've been doing a lot of biking, still trying to kind of get organized and unpacked and whatnot. And I have met I've met this one girl in particular I've become very good friends with, so I've been spending some time with her and some other friends. And the biking is going to be great for me to get in shape. I've gotten down to like 135 pounds. I'm like 15 pounds away from my high school weight, which is pretty cool. I think I'll be getting in really good shape. It's been very hot here, and obviously now we have this tropical storm, so I had to prep for that. A lot of stuff going on, and yeah, I've just been busy. So that's pretty much that. Yeah, busy, busy, busy. But I do love it here. It's been really awesome. I've had a lot of support from friends, and it's been great. There's been a lot of really wonderful people in my life. They know who they are, and I'm more grateful to them than they know. So I'm lucky to have a lot of really good friends. So that's that. I'm going to continue on with the start of talking about the Salem Witch Trials. I'm not going to do it all today. It's going to be a little bit of a series. So I will just start talking about it today, and then we'll do it in little episodes. I do think, I think this is important information. I think not everyone is familiar with the history of it. It's taught to us in New England, not necessarily other places, and especially in the climate of today's political arena, which I do feel is very Christianized. I think it's important to know this history, and certainly we've learned time and time again history can repeat itself. So it's important to know this stuff. So I'm going to talk about the Salem Witch Trial History. Um, Now, the Salem witch trials took place between June of 1692 to May of 1693. 19 convicted witches were hung, and many other suspects were imprisoned in the Salem village. For fuck's sake, Wayne. I mean, really, can you just grow up? Grow up. He's dedicated. You can give him that. You know, perhaps if you had been that dedicated during our relationship, we wouldn't be here right now. Okay. I mean, at this point, I consider this harassment and bullying. So, 19 convicted witches were hung, and many other suspects were imprisoned in Salem Village. In what was the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Now, the Massachusetts Bay Colony is now Danvers, Massachusetts. There were two Salems at that time. There was Salem Town, which was on the water, and it was a busy port of commerce, and that is now what is known as the Salem that we know, our modern Salem. But there was also Salem Village, which was more inland. I think it was about 10 miles inland, and it was very small, 500 people, and it was more of a farming community. So that's primarily where this all took place, in that small Salem village. And I think it's important to remember that the Salem witch trials were started, the whole thing, by two young grade school aged girls in a town of 500 people. Okay, so yeah, it's two little girls started this huge thing that became part of history. It's important to remember that. Now, the witch hunts actually began in Europe between 1300 and 1330, and they ended in the late 18th century with the last known execution for witchcraft taking place in Switzerland in 1782. 3/4 of the European witch hunts took place in Western Germany, the Low Countries, which are Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg, and in France, Northern Italy, and Switzerland. It is believed that 110,000 people in total were tried for witchcraft, and between 40 to 60,000 were executed. That's a big number. The hunts were efforts to identify witches, sort of root them out, rather than go after witches, you know, that were sort of already known to be practicing. The process began with suspicions and rumors and accusations, and often escalated to convictions and executions. So this all took place in Salem Village in the late 17th century, and the village had a well-known social divide between two of the more prominent families. They were the Porters and the Putnams, and there was rivalry between them. The Porters were sort of well-to-do, more to do with commerce, more to do with Salem Town, and the Putnams were more the farmers and more connected to Salem Village, and there was a lot of fighting over property. And that did affect the climate of this whole situation. In 1689, Samuel Parris, who had a relationship with the Putnams, became the pastor of Salem Village. He had studied at Harvard. He had a wife and 3 children and 2 slaves. He also had a niece that was staying with him. The slaves were originally from Barbados, and it was a man called John Indian and a woman by the name of Tituba, who I'm sure you've heard of. Now, Parris's daughter, Betty, was aged 9, and his niece, Abigail Williams, was aged 11. And their friend, Ann Putnam Jr., was aged 12. So these were all very young girls. And they began indulging in fortune telling. And it was most likely influenced by Tituba, who did sometimes care for the children. She used to tell them tales of voodoo. And in January of 1692, Betty and Abigail's behavior was becoming increasingly more and more strange. And one historian went so far as to call them juvenile delinquents. They started having fits, they screamed, they made strange sounds and movements, they threw things and contorted their bodies and complained of being bit and pinched by unseen forces. And this went on throughout the month of January and into February. Now, it should be noted that in 1689, a minister from Boston by the name of Cotton Mather had written a book. It was called The Memorable Providences Relating to Witchcraft and Possessions. And in the book, he detailed a case of a Boston family who the year before were thought to have been bewitched, and he described some of their behavior. So it could be that the girls had actually seen this and read it from the book, and perhaps they modeled that behavior. Now, by February, when the local doctor couldn't find a medical reason for the behavior of the girls, couldn't find a medical cause, he attributed it to the supernatural. Then a neighbor suggested that a witch cake should be made, and Tituba offered to make it, and it was made with the urine of the victims, the girls. Kind of witchcrafty in itself. But Tituba baked one, and it was to try to identify who was bewitching the girls. Now, Paris, the local pastor, was outraged by this because he said it was blasphemous. So there was a lot of high emotions running around, a lot of conflicts between people. So, yeah. Now, after the cake was baked, the pastor, and he was really upset about that. He started putting a lot of pressure on the two girls, Betty and Abigail, to confess their tormentor. So eventually they did start some accusations, and they accused Tituba. Now, if you think about it, that sort of makes sense that Tituba was the first one accused because she was a slave. She was of a different race. She wasn't part of their family or anyone connected to anyone in the village. So it kind of makes sense that she would be the first one to be accused. That's when the girls were sort of just kind of starting out. They weren't taking it too far yet. And then the other two people that they accused were people that were kind of marginalized people of the community. They were two women who did not attend church, and one was a beggar by the name of Sarah Good, and the other was an elderly bedridden woman by the name of Sarah Osborne, and she had been sort of ostracized by the community for a romantic relationship she had had with an indentured servant. Hey Chronic, how are you, honey? Thanks for popping in. Yeah, so she was an outcast. So these were the other two people that were accused. 3 people total. The first accusations, Tituba and the 2 Sarahs, who were both ostracized from the community. On March 1st, 2 magistrates from Salem town, John Hawthorne and Jonathan Corwin, went to the village to conduct a private inquiry, investigation into what was going on in Salem village. Now, both of the Sarahs protested their innocence, but Sarah Good did accuse Sarah Osborne, most likely as a way to save her own skin. Initially, Tituba also said she was innocent, but she was repeatedly badgered, and eventually she broke, and she told them what she thought they wanted to hear, and said that yes, she had been visited by the devil and made a deal with him. And that you know, she went on to give testimony in court. Now, this testimony went on for 3 days. And if you think about the Puritan times, now Tituba as a slave and, you know, doing the housework and caring for the children, you know, she was a teller of tales. She used to regale the children with tales of voodoo and the supernatural and spooky stuff. So she clearly was a good storyteller. And if she spoke in court for 3 days telling this story, I'm sure the Puritans were riveted in court. I bet they loved it, and it was all that they could talk about. So for 3 days, in very vivid testimony, she described encounters with Satan's animal, you know, my brain. I'm a little distracted. Animal familiars. She described the animal familiars that Satan was sending to her. Let me just take out the trash. And she also described meeting with a tall, dark man from Boston who had asked her to sign the devil's book. And she said in the devil's book, she did see the names of both the Sarahs, but she also saw 7 other names that she couldn't identify. So with that, the magistrates not only had their proof that, yes, there was witchcraft going on in Salem Village, but that there were now at least 7 other witches to root out. So this really began it all. So at that point, hysteria did start to build, and the community was in a panic, and they were out for blood. So at that point, many more girls and young women started having fits and copying the same type of behavior that the initial 2 girls had, and they started accusing people. Some of these women involved and girls were Ann Putnam Jr., her mother, her cousin, Mary Walcott, the Putnam servant, Mercy Lewis. Now, there was a lot of the Putnams involved here, and a lot of the accusations were by the Putnams and their in-laws and friends and family. So it started to be that many of the accused were actually the Putnams' enemies. So, yeah, corruption. They took advantage of the situation. And now at this point, they weren't just accusing people that were sort of on the fringes of society. They were starting to accuse upstanding citizens, including Rebecca Nurse, who was a pretty prominent woman in the community. So this is pretty much how it all started and began. Hey John, how are you? Thanks for coming into the stream. Hi Moonchild Pink. Sure thing. That's pretty much all I'm going to talk about today. That's kind of the start of it all, and then we're going to start going into the trials during the next stream and some more of the details of what happened during this hysteria in Salem Village. And like I say, it's just 2 little girls, 9 and 12, you know, who started this whole thing that we now all know about in modern times. It's crazy. And, you know, I do think this kind of, it goes into sort of like group hysteria too. And it's an interesting topic to think about. So, you know, people who do start rumors and put a lot of false accusations out there in the world, it can affect the way that people think and the way that people look at you. And you would think that you'd be careful about the things that you say, but not everyone has a real good moral compass. So what else can I tell you? I did finally email truthfully Trisha TT. I've been so busy, so I haven't caught a lot of YouTube stuff lately. I really just have been too busy. But I did email her, and I've made a suggestion to her. Hi, Arcane. Thanks for popping into the stream. I appreciate the support. Thanks very much. I have put forth a suggestion to TT about collaborating. I'm not going to say what it is yet because I don't know if she's game or if it's something she can do, but I had a little idea and I suggested it to her, and we'll see what she has to say about it. I don't know why you continue to dox me, but it doesn't really affect me. I'm not hiding. Thank you, Chronic. I appreciate that. You were quicker than me. So, yeah. I completely lost my train of thought. So, obviously, Irish Bev, you go way back to, you know, the, can somebody, Chronic, if you're still in here, can you remove her? Irish Bev is part of the, Drunko cult. You notice I don't go around doing this to any of these people, you know? I don't go around bullying people. Unbelievable. So anyway, yes, I'm settled in. Yes, I'm happy. Yes, I love it here. New Orleans is just so rich with culture, with beauty, with fantastic people. It's a wonderful city. I'm in love with it. I was riding my bike home the other night from a dinner party, and the air was fragrant with honeysuckle. It was warm, but like not too hot. It was beautiful. I was riding down St. Charles Street with these gorgeous mansions, and you know, if you follow me on social media, I'm a picture taker. Like, I take 1 billion pictures. But I found myself at times having these moments where I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. But you know what? I'm not even going to take a picture of it because it feels like this precious, magical, intimate moment between me and the city. And I want to keep it private and special. So yeah, I'm falling in love with the city. I'm getting to know it. I did have a really good friend take me on a long bike ride in what he called the horseshoe of New Orleans, and he explained a lot to me. And in many times since then, in the past week, I've been out on my own riding around the city, and I'll remember things that he told me where I've been like a little lost and not sure where to go, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this, and then I find my way. So I am starting to learn the city, and it's great. I love it. I'm exploring, I'm learning new areas. I have found out all 3 of the St. Louis cemeteries are close to me, and I've been to them all. I haven't been inside them, but I've been around the outsides of them. And that's something I've been wanting to do since I moved here 2 years ago, was go to these cemeteries. It never happened, but it's gonna happen now. Marie Laveau is buried in cemetery number 1. It's open every day, so I'm actually probably going to go there tomorrow because I'm going to also talk to them about possibly doing an investigation there with another person in the paranormal who I've been talking to about doing a collaboration. So that's pretty exciting. And the people here are just wonderful. You know, I feel like New Orleans has such a bad reputation for the crime, and granted, there is crime, like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but I will say, I haven't felt unsafe. I mean, obviously in any city you have to be street smart, you can't be stupid, and my friend did give me some mace to carry with me at all times, which was very sweet, and you have to be street smart, but I have, I lived in Boston for 10 years. I'm familiar with living in a city. And, you know, there's going to be certain areas that are dicier than others. But on the whole, I feel like New Orleans has a worse reputation than it deserves because the people here are phenomenal. And it's just such a friendly, happy, fantastic city. And it's beautiful. The architecture, the plants, the flowers, the foliage, I mean, everywhere. It's just gorgeous. I, I mean, the way the houses are painted, I'm just constantly out, like, with my jaw hanging open at the beauty of the city, all the wrought iron work. And right down the street on Esplanade is the Degas house. And on my way there were like these huge birds rooting in the tree, like these enormous pterodactyl birds. I don't even know what they are yet, but they were like pooping all over the street. They're up in the oaks. You just find like such strange and unusual things here all the time. It's very interesting. So I'm very happy here. I'm very happy to be here. And it's been very eerie because I was already familiar with the Quarter, and I had spent a fair amount of time in the Quarter, and I knew the French Quarter very well. That's really the only part of the city I knew well. So I'm discovering all these other areas, Uptown, the Garden District, Bywater, etc. There's all these other areas, and now I'm learning what they are and exploring. And so it's been really fun. It's been an adventure. I'm definitely just indulging in my love affair with the city, and it's such a haunted city. It's so rich in history. And another thing I've really been getting into lately too, and I've started rereading the book. It's called, what is it called? It's something like The Devil. Oh, I'm gonna have to look it up, but it's about the case of Zach and Addie, which happened right after Katrina. It's a very well-known case here in the city, and I was exploring this case when I first moved here to Louisiana. It really drew me to it, and I've been sort of obsessed. It's called Shake the Devil Off. That's the name of the book. I had read it once already. I might have even read it twice before, but now that I'm in the city, I'm rereading it, and it's different to me because now all the places in the book I know and I'm familiar with. So it just, I don't know, it's just different. And I'm rereading the book, and I would like to possibly do an investigation at their apartment. When that opened up for tours, it was very controversial here in the city because a lot of people thought it was too soon. A lot of people knew that couple. They both worked and lived in the Quarter, and they had a lot of friends here, and so people were upset by that, and I did respect that. But it has been quite some time. But before I do that, I might try to find people who knew them myself. I like to get intimate and familiar with a case and with the people involved, even if they're deceased. But throughout New Orleans, you can feel the spirit, activity, and energy everywhere. And I love that. It's something I'm very comfortable with, so I'm very happy here. So anyway, guys, clearly my ex is going to be a big problem today. Hopefully he won't do this again. Let's hope he got it out of his system. Ironically enough, I did try to call him yesterday and speak to him in case he had anything he wanted to say to me, and he refused to answer the phone and speak to me. So he prefers to do it publicly. He's trying to shame and humiliate me, but it won't work. I'm not ashamed, and I'm not humiliated, except by my connection to you at this point. So, that's it. Hopefully I'm not going to have to address this again. And thanks for joining me. Thanks for the support, guys. It means more to me than you know. And hopefully you'll come back and join me again. And I look forward to talking more about the Salem Witch Trials. I look forward to hopefully doing some live streams throughout the city eventually. And I can hear it's really starting to pour. Maybe this storm's starting to amp up. Yeah, I know. So, yeah, exciting times ahead. Lots of fun stuff coming. And it looks like the virus, that's starting to sort of settle down a little bit. And life slowly resuming back to normal. We're not all the way there yet, but we've made some progress, and I'm really happy to see that, and I hope everybody else is too. And never let fear rule your life. It's always wise to be vigilant, but to let fear rule your life, it's not a way to live. It's not a way to live. And certainly don't let anyone bully and intimidate you, especially someone who supposedly loves so hard. I don't know. Me personally, I just don't think I could do that to someone I love. So I guess there was never really any love there. I guess I was the fool. But hey, we live and learn. All right, that's it. As I say, he's clearly not going to let me stream, and he's going to try to keep distracting me, so I'm going to wrap it up. There's probably more I would have talked about. I'll save it for next time. Thanks, guys. Love you so much. Thanks for your support. Be well, be happy, be healthy, be empathetic, be compassionate, be kind, be forgiving, be loving, be everything that was not happening in here today. Kiss your loved ones. Tell them everything you want to say, because you never know which day is your last day or theirs. Make love, not war, and don't let the demons bite. And until next time, I bid you adieu. Chronic, thank you so much. I really appreciate your help today. I love you, as you know. I'll see you guys all real soon. Be good, but not too good. Have a drink on me. I think I need one now. Okay, until next time, guys. No, that's it. That's a wrap for me. I'm too distracted. But thank you. I love you guys. And nobody's going to shut